Hello everyone, welcome to Krotoflik, and I'm your host Chad Bradle, and today I'm going to show you how to build a hot shoe adapter. Just in case you don't have one, or you need a quick fix, or maybe you just want it to be a permanent fix. Here's how I build it. Alright, so I'm going to show you two different ways to build this DIY hot shoe adapter. One is most likely the reason why you're here, is because you're looking for one with a 1/4 inch thread on the top and something that is obviously attachable to your hot shoe. So first we'll explain that, and I'll explain what you'll need to do if you're to build this for, say, my DIY shotgun mic mount. So what you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up buying a long bolt. This is about 5.5 inches or so. And essentially what you're going to have to do is you're going to have a hacksaw, and you're going to have to cut the length you need for your adapter. Now I don't have a hacksaw, so I can't cut it, and it wasn't the reason I originally designed this anyways, but this will work for anyone essentially that just needs something to get by. So presumably what you're going to have is, to build your normal adapter, hot shoe adapter, you're going to need 2 wing nuts, one 5/16 washer, and one 7/16 nut, and one 1/4 inch T-nut. And the T-nut looks like this. It's got the spikes on it, and it's got a 1/4 inch threaded hole all the way through it. And you're going to end up breaking off these tips with your pliers. You're going to end up breaking them off, wiggling them around and snapping them off. And then once you've snapped off 4 points off, you're going to end up using your sandpaper to sand them down. That's just so you don't have any sharp edges and burrs to poke you. You want it, nice and smooth. But what you'll end up doing, I'll take this apart. So your T-nut will end up looking like this. Now, once you got the length that you need, I'd say go ahead and cut it, or you can try and cut it with your T-nut attached so you have a guide to cut by. But what you're going to end up doing is, if you're doing the cut, you're going to thread your good end through the bottom of your T-nut. This is so that you have good threads to thread onto anything else you plan on attaching. Now, assuming that you've cut it, you're probably going to have either some rough edges on your threads, so it's hard to thread, or maybe you got it good enough. Either way, you're going to want it at the bottom, and what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to end up threading the bottom of your last thread at least halfway into your T-nut. So you're going to thread it so that let's say your threads are actually about halfway into this. And the reason being is that you want these extra threads in the bottom so that you can attach it to your quick release plate. And obviously, as you can see here, just a little demonstration is attached. It's all 1/4 inch thread, so it works. So now that you have that, and you have threaded in there, what you're going to end up doing, and I would also test it on your quick release plate before you do what I'm about to show you next. Take this threaded bolt piece and take this T-nut adapter and thread it on top of this, and then thread your bolt down into it, and then just loosen it back a little bit, because you want to have a little gap between the threads on your quick release adapter and the threads on your bolt. So once you know where that's at, take it back off, and you're going to end up taking something like snips like this, or whatever you'd like to try, and you're going to end up essentially crushing the metal onto the threads. And that's exactly what I did to this bolt. I'm not going to do it to this one because this is for something else. But you're going to essentially just take it here, and you're just going to crush this metal and bend it right onto the threads. You don't want to go up too high, but you're just going to be squeezing the center here as best you can. what you're trying to do is you're trying to make it so that this threaded bolt now does not spin inside of your T-nut. You want it to just be one piece. You're just trying to mold it together. So once you got that done, I'd say go ahead and re-thread it back onto your quick plate. Make sure it's all good and tightens down like you'd like it to. Next, you're going to take your 7/16 nut, slide it on. You're going to take your 5/16 washer, slide it on. You're going to take your 1/4 inch wing nut, thread it on, and then you're going to take a second 1/4 inch wing nut and thread it on the other direction. So now what you have is, oh, what do you know? A 1/4 inch thread, so you can thread on, you know, maybe a portable audio recorder or a different type of shotgun mount or whatever you want. And then you'll have this little gap right here. This goes up and down to slide in your hot shoe. And you're set. You now have a DIY hot shoe adapter, which can also thread onto a quick release plate like this. And I can show you with this, even though this doesn't have the threads on top. That's irrelevant. It's the idea that you can attach to your quick release, or hot shoe I mean. Here's a hot shoe on my Sony camera, my old one here. It goes right in. It's on. It's not going anywhere. It's tight as heck. And I didn't even have to turn it that hard. So you're good to go. And this would be the exact same thing, other than there's a bolt head on here and you just have your wing nut sticking out. So that's pretty much how you'll build a regular hot shoe adapter. Now, if you are to make this for the DIY shotgun mic mount that I showed you in the previous video, everything's essentially the same, other than you don't have to cut this thread. What you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up taking your bolt, and I already have my nut on here. I'll just use this one. You're going to end up taking your bolt, and let's say this ring represents your 2-inch PVC coupler, and you already have your hole drilled through the bottom where you want it to mount. Okay, you're going to end up taking your 1.5-inch bolt, and you're going to end up putting it inside the hole, inside the PVC coupler, and pushing it down through so that your threads are sticking out. Now that your threads are sticking out, or you're probably going to end up actually having to thread it into your PVC. That's what I had to do with the drill bit I used. Once your threads are sticking out, you're going to take your nylon lock nut and you're going to thread it all the way to the top, and you're just going to squeeze it right between. You're just going to squeeze that PVC right between there. Now, because these are kind of shorter bolts, I'm just going to show you the rest of the way with this one. But now that that's on there, your next step, simply take your wing nut, thread it up behind this, behind your lock nut. Now that you have that, next you take your 5/16 washer, you take your 7/16 nut, and then you end up taking your done up T-nut. Now obviously the spikes are still on this, it's because this one's already held together and I already got that one threaded on. But you end up threading on your T-nut, doing exactly the same thing I showed you with this one. You're going to thread it about halfway, test it on your adapter to make sure it'll stay snug, figure out about where you have it, and then you're going to end up doing the exact same thing of crushing it right onto your bolt. That's essentially what I did here. This bolt moves just a little bit, but because I basically destroyed the threads onto the T-nut, it's not going anywhere. And as soon as you tighten this down, your nut won't even move. It'll just be squeezed right against the hot shoe. And because of the way we have the threads, we can attach it directly to a quick release plate. So this will work great for other things that you may have that you work with PVC as well. I know that the Frugal Filmmaker and maybe Knot Top have showed you some ways of using PVC. So essentially, if they're using threaded setups, you could run your bolt head inside of a cap such as this, and then your bolt can come out the bottom, and then run your lock nut up to there, and now you have a thread ready to adapt any PVC device that you want to a hot shoe or your quick release. So there you go. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments. Take care. And oh yeah, you always want to have Mountain Dew with you. It's good stuff. Yep, so that's how I put it together. Here's my previous video of me attaching it to my shotgun mic mount, which allows me to attach it to the hot shoe adapter, or the hot shoe mount, I should say, or even my tripod plate. So you got a couple options with it. They're only, it's only a couple bucks to make, and to buy a new one on eBay, I think it's like $5. So really, if you want the good luck, you'd want to buy it. But if you need something to get you by, then this is definitely a solution. Either way, feel free to leave a comment below and subscribe and like if you like this. Take care.